Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to share with you my top favorite boss fights in the game Black Myth Wukong. My favorite doesn't really mean that in terms of mechanics they need to be, well, the best among others. It's a combination of both how they look, how it feels like fighting against them. It can be also a combination of voice acting, animation, how emotional impact they had on me, and of course also mechanics as well. Mix everything together to make the boss fight more, let's say, memorable to me. So it can be bosses that you maybe hated, but for me, basically I will remember them after I finish playing the game entirely.
除了他自己。后来我才明白，也许那是唯一的办法。他没得选，我也没有。
Alright, in the 10th place, we have the Cloudtreading Deer. This boss. This is, I think, the only boss that really trolls the player. He has such a crazy moves to avoid getting damage, and he can hit you basically from so many directions. And the winds are crazy, kind of closes on you and can deal massive damage. This boss was annoying to beat at first. A calm boss, but once you try to engage with him, he's gonna be very, very upset. And the moment you thought you beat him and that's it after a long time, then he resurrected. And oh boy, second stage, not less annoying than the first one. But you have your budgie buddy to help you out a bit. In the 9th plank we have Lingxuzi. Yeah. Oh my god, you're big. Let's go. And what I liked about this fight is the boss was so mobile, jumping on the roofs. It just felt so dynamic. This is an early boss, so it was very, very memorable among the early bosses. It just felt different, very intimidating, looks great. And again, just really fun boss fight that I remember until now. It was amazing. Stay closer. Alright. I'm gonna jump fast probably. Yep. So I really enjoyed this one. Very memorable boss for me. Really liked it. Let's move to the next. Now, one that I never forget is Wandering Wight, and I think many players will remember this one as well, because this is the first big enemy that I actually encountered. I didn't even know to call it the boss, because for me at the beginning it wasn't too hard, but definitely harder than the regular enemies that were there. It looks super cool, and it already was the face of the game. The moment I saw him, I told myself, alright, it's gonna be amazing to see what enemy is gonna look up ahead if this is something that I see at the beginning of the game. I also think that this boss was a big wake-up call for many players who thought that the game going to be relatively, well, accessible and easy, and then they realized, well, maybe it's going to be more like Souls-like. So this is definitely was one of them. And wow, I really enjoyed this fight, and definitely one of the most memorable ones for sure. Now let's not forget there's also the Elder Jin Chief, which was the secret boss, kind of carrying the same design, but still, the first one was my favorite one because of the impact that it has for me at the beginning of the game. Alright, at the 7th place we have Bishui Golden-Eyed Beast. This is a beast. This is a secret boss that very, very challenging. It took me some time to beat it. But when I figured out a good build, it was pretty straightforward. It also appears in a beautiful volcanic area in the game. And it allows you to unlock the most beautiful, in my opinion, the most beautiful armor set in the game, what you see here. Now, some people told me that there is an option to take him to another area which will be more ice damage, cold damage, rather than the one in the fire. Nonetheless, it was really fun. Lots of fire effect. It was really beautiful. I needed to adapt my build in order to beat him. Right, very aggressive boss, really fun. I really enjoyed this fight. Another grab. I mean, try to attack instead. In the 6th place, we have the black bear Guai. Hajime! Why all of them need to disappear? Now this boss that looks like it was taken from a Kung Fu Panda movie felt incredible. It was incredible. I mean the stances of the boss, the way he stands on his legs. He felt really powerful and strong. It was very aggressive. The way it charges at you, it really felt great fighting against him. Also the environment with all the fire around it again just looks great, and I really felt intimidating when I first encountered this boss. The fight also was really beautiful visually with the fire, especially when they used my own transformation with the fire. Very good, very good. And I also had one of my favorite moments in the game in this particular boss fight, which was also related to the voice line of one of the attacks, which I'm going to show you, not specifically for this boss, but still, the moment was there. Wow, that sounds so cool. Yeah, definitely a memorable boss fight for sure.
Sage have mercy! I was just a pawn of the Celestial Court!
And in the 5th place we have the final boss, but then I mean once you finish this boss you get to the credits. And this fight of course was really fun for me to experiment, especially when I tried different builds. It was more challenging than the first part, the phase of it, which is again the stone monkeys, which I didn't like this fight overall, but this one definitely felt much better. The boss was very aggressive, didn't leave me a lot of window to attack, and of course I needed to adapt, learn, become better, and of course create a good build that will make it easier for me. So again, I think that most of the impact comes from this being actually the final boss, and it was more challenging than some of the other bosses that I play with, and it requires me to think carefully of the build that I'm actually using, and of course learn the fight to get better so I won't get hit. I mean, by that I mean not get hit as much, because the first few tries were pretty punishing. And the fact that you're fighting something that is more similar to you, and it feels like you're fighting yourself in a way, because the boss is very aggressive, it plays well. So in some way I felt like, you know, I'm fighting a more experienced teacher in that aspect. Next one is Erlang. This boss fight is an optional boss fight, so you can finish the game without fighting him at all. It is known by many to be one of the most difficult bosses in the game, if not the most difficult. This is one of the boss fights that many players will remember because of the difficulty. And again, it was designed to really challenge players, those who actually want to really extract everything that the game has to offer in terms of boss fight and give them something, well, really worth fighting for. I mean, difficulty-wise. The area was very quiet, no special effects there in terms of the environment, just you and a great fight against this fearful boss and his dog.
没人杀得了，除了他自己。
But what I really enjoyed is actually the reward that what comes after this fight as well. And this is fighting against other gods. It was just beautiful and just directed so well. Yeah, it wasn't designed to be hard, but that you just feel very, very powerful. It's something that's going to end the game for you. I mean, the final ending of the game. And the thing is that it was so beautifully made that I just feel bad for those who actually haven't discovered how to do that or haven't experienced it, because it was just so much fun. It's also hidden behind a pretty tough and challenging boss, so I don't think like many players will take the time to do it. But definitely one of the highlights of the game for sure. The only gripe here is again that there are going to be lots of players who won't get to this point to experience it. That's unfortunate. Other than that, again, this is the only gripe. Other than that, it's just amazing. Now, for better or for worse, for me at least, this is going to be one of the most memorable fights in Black Myth Wukong. And again, this is against Unread Eye Daoist Master. At this point, by the way, I didn't know that I can actually silence the second stage. But this boss, wow. First of all, I think it takes place in the most beautiful area in the game. I mean, not area, I'd say arena. I've just loved the area. Very pastoralic and nice, and the combat is exactly the opposite. Very aggressive and intimidating. Now, the second stage of this fight wasn't less intimidating. I mean, I didn't know how to silence it before. It was pretty challenging, but beautiful. Actually happy that I experienced it because it just looks amazing. Now, I read that many people really hated the second stage, but for me, I remember that because it was challenging and I needed to learn how to dodge the move for the entire fight. By the way, at least high degree of these attacks to be able to survive, and I really enjoyed that. It feels really like a good old Souls-like boss fight. Yeah, so overall, for better or for worse, it's definitely going to be one of my favorites and most memorable ones. For sure, as for the boss fight, it was different, definitely from all the others, for sure. In the second place, definitely a memorable one is against the Yellowbrow. I really love the design of this boss fight. It has several stages, by the way. Some of them are more notorious than others. The area itself is again one of the most beautiful areas in the game, and the way that this boss fight was directed in terms of visuals and camera point of view, it was just incredible. So in terms of the personality they injected into this boss fight, it felt something more realistic rather than something kind of distance that you don't really connect with. There's no doubt in my mind that they've given this boss fight much more attention with the cutscenes, the stages compared to any other boss fight in the game. At least that's how it felt for me. And then there was a fight into the second stage of the fight, which of course the highlights for me was waiting after I exit this area. This is where I really was blown with the direction. Again, this is just a transition to the third stage of the fight. Now, I'm pretty sure there are going to be people who pull this third stage as the most hated one in the game. But again, if I take the overall, definitely one of the most memorable and favorite boss fights in the game. Again, I told you, I take many things into account, not just how the boss fight feels in this case. Definitely going to remember this one for a long time. I can't even remember the time where boss fights were, well, so talkative. I told you, something I liked, something I didn't, but overall, very memorable for me. And in the first place for me, the Tiger Vanguard. Whoever did the motion capture for this boss fight need to be praised, highly praised.
Bloody hell. What's the hold up this time? Suck your offerings and don't breed more rats. If you dare to muck up the king's practice again, I'll serve your dimwit son up for supper, myself. Ain't you that old loser? Where'd you come from, you bird-faced mug? Who cares anyway? I'll gobble you up first.
I mean, seriously, first of all, you fight this boss in a pool of blood. The boss itself is full of amazing personality injected into him. The way he licks his hand before actually starting the fight, the way it looks so angry for blood. And he can wearing a belt, and he also attacks you with some really cool martial arts type of attacks. For me, this is by far the most memorable fight. I mean, seriously, it was designed so well in my opinion. It doesn't look flashy as the other ones, but the arena itself, the martial arts, the way he speaks at the beginning, the cutscene, just makes you scared of this dude.
With your rubbish tricks! Get out there!
Also the voice line and the way the animation of his head sync with the pace of the game, with the music. Listen. Yeah, so these little things didn't go unnoticed, and the more I actually pay attention to the fight, even after playing and just seeing the gameplay of me playing it, I just fell in love with this boss fight. Yeah, so these are my top favorite boss fights in the game. Again, doesn't have to be mechanic wise, again, combination of different things that makes them very memorable for me. Of course, there are many others I know that I like, but again, these are the ones that I remember the most, for better or for worse. I mean, some of them were pretty difficult and challenging and of course caused me frustration. But again, put this aside after finishing the game, no doubt that Vanguard is my favorite one. Now, which is yours? Let me know in the comment section below which are the ones that you like the most. Doesn't have to be mechanic wise, combination of different things that makes the boss fight very memorable for you. Thanks for watching.
就铁骑士却无力，大手铁炮造虎旗，枪刀剑剑慌不比，时候死你不死你。